Oh, hi everyone. I'm excited to have today Rene Prusna, who is the Vice President of Strategy in Kinexon Sports. Rene, introduce yourself.
Hi, first of all, thanks for having me. It's a really pleasure to be on your podcast. Yeah, my name is Rene. As mentioned, I'm working currently as the Vice President of Strategy at Kinexon Sports. I started working at Kinexon 9.5 years ago, so I was one of the first employees joining the sports area. And yeah, my background is I'm a sports scientist. I studied the bachelor and master's in sports science at the TU Munich. I have also coaching licenses for football in parallel. And yeah, I would say I have a strong connection to the world of sports in combination with technology.
Okay, yeah, Rene is pretty interesting guest because he is actually, understands the technology, the sports science, and also you're currently a coach. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. So I think I have a wide experience, which is maybe normal after being so long in this area. But I think it's also cool to combine technology
Mm-hmm.
with sports science to really be
Mm-hmm.
at the forefront. And I started as project manager, customer success manager at Kinexon. I was also supporting and building up our global customer success sports science team. So it's really cool to be in touch with a lot of different coaches and working side by side with them, supporting and really understanding how we can translate the feedback we are receiving on a daily basis into new products and really make sure that we can support them even better to really help them improve the performance of the players at the end of the day.
Okay, yeah, you've mentioned you're around 10 years with Kinexon now. Tell us about a little bit how it's all started. Yeah, tell us the journey.
Yeah, I think journey is quite interesting. So our founders, Alex, Ollie, and Max, initially take a look at the Allianz Arena watching a soccer match. And yeah, back in the days, it's a bit similar to today. There were already optical tracking systems installed, but you still had manual operators sitting there tagging errors or making some adjustments to really make sure that the players are not running into or have an overlap in terms of like a blob, especially in situations where you have free kicks or corners or throw-ins. And they were thinking about, hey, there has to be an easier way to really get accurate data, but also providing all the information in real time with a low latency. And I think that's how everything started with Kinexon, and everything started with our local positioning system back in the days. It's still part of our portfolio. It's still something which a lot of indoor clients are using, especially if we talk about handball, basketball, volleyball, or hockey. But it's also something which outdoor clients as well are using, and then they're equipping all the facilities they have, and the players are wearing the small sensors, and based on the communication between an anchor and the
Mm-hmm.
sensor, you can get precision information about the location of everyone. And then out of that, you can calculate different statistics like total distance covered, sprint, speed, acceleration. And we are also very proud of having a chip inside the ball, so you can also track the ball and get information in combination with player tracking as well.
Wow. Wow, Rene, I have one question. How many data points do you produce in a game?
Wow, that's a lot. You can imagine, so for one player, for instance, if we talk about 90 minutes of play of game, you have the positional data coming in with 25 hertz. So that means you have 20 to 25 data points per second. So you can really upscale this. And in parallel, we are also having an inertial measurement unit um, assigned to all of our
Mm-hmm.
sensors are calculate or collecting data with another 100 hertz. So it's really insane the amount of raw data you get. At the end of the day, we want to make the life of coaches easy. So that means we have around 250 to 300 calculated metrics, which are visible and accessible for the coaches. And at the end of the day, you can break it down to 5 to 10, or the 5 to 10 most relevant ones.
Okay, so 250 to 300, you said,
Yes.
metrics. Wow. Yeah, but I know there is a problem that sometimes it's too much data for coaches, right?
Yes.
You, as someone working with the coaches, how could you comment this and how do you guys resolve this issue?
Yeah, so I think it depends a bit because not so sometimes we are working with coaches who already have an experience with
Mm-hmm.
maybe Kinexon in the past and now they're switching to another team or they were using a product from a competitor. So they already start on a higher level in terms of understanding how to use data and how to work with data. And on the other side, you have really the entry point when you reach out to people who never were in touch with technology, and then you need to start from scratch. And I think what's always important from our side and what's part of our DNA is that we believe that customer success is crucial and that you need to have a sports scientist supporting you, especially at the beginning. And then we get in touch with the coaches. We support them during the onboarding process. We support them by setting up initial reportings. And we always explain them that it's important to think in three buckets, so to say. There's a bucket which we call also in the sports science area volume-based metrics.
Mm-hmm.
So hereby you take a look at maybe an acceleration node or a distance covered.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have a bucket focusing more on the intensity part. It can be like a maximum speed, it can be high speed running above a certain threshold. So really taking a look at the intensity level. And then you have a last bucket dealing more with the topic around density. So that means it's something like a distance per minute or acceleration per minute metric.
Mm-hmm.
It's going more in the direction of understanding kind of worst case scenarios that you take a look at a specific time window,
Mm-hmm.
understanding what is a player capable of delivering within this time frame. And it also supports to understand the big picture. And by taking
Okay.
metrics out of each bucket, you can have a good combination by understanding how to work with the data, how to translate it into practice, and how to follow them then also during a match, so like in live, or how to define goals for each practice.
What challenges do you see when the teams are trying to implement new technology? What are the biggest challenges they face and mistakes they do?
Yeah, well, I think mistake is a tough word. So I would maybe start with the challenges and then let's see how deep we can go. But I think from a challenge perspective, it's really not that easy to convince everyone internally. So I think if we talk about sports also like hockey or maybe yeah, basketball also here in Europe, it's not so easy always to get the buy-in from everyone within a club because
Mm-hmm.
you need to do a lot of enablement education to create value with the data and to explain the value to the head coach or to the sporting director and justify an investment in technology. I think this is like the first hurdle everyone needs to cover. And then I think it's also really getting started. It's about getting started. Not afraid of using technology, especially at the beginning. I think it's not the right mindset to think, okay, now I have a Kinexon system, and by tomorrow I will not have any injuries anymore. I think it's really going the approach step by step, adding the first 3 to 5 metrics to your list, getting to used to it, work with benchmarks, also talk to the players, give them feedback, get the buy-in from the players, and then add another layer to another layer to another layer so that you're really, really making progress of the course of the season to get more and more into deep details and to yeah, use the system then from different angles, not only focusing on injury prevention, which is a huge topic, but also using the benchmarks you collect to better understand your own performance versus maybe the opponent if you have access to optical tracking data within games, for instance, or to use the system to create specific diagnostics or assessments like a defined sprint diagnostic or sprint assessment. I think that's also important to use the data if a player is coming from an injury to really understand is he capable of delivering his 100% again. So I
Mm-hmm.
think it's really going step by step.
Okay, yeah, and recently I've been speaking with coach from some of the top of ice hockey leagues, and he was saying that it is tough to learn how to use it at the beginning, the data, and to make a practical practical to take a practical benefits from it at the beginning, but once you learned it, he said, this is the thing I couldn't be. He said, I don't know how I lived without it before. So I completely agree, like, but and yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. If we would talk about innovation and some of initiatives you guys have, that's pretty interesting because, like, from what you've mentioned, you have a really, interesting and I will say systematic, big system like that, right, for everything. So
Yeah.
you're obviously one of the big players over here. What are the initiatives you see?
Yeah, so I think the initiatives, as you mentioned, are closely related always to our ecosystem we try to set up, and we try to really be a provider who is having all the development parts internally. That's, I think, one very important topic to mention. So everything we deliver from a hardware, firmware, or also software perspective is built in-house. So that means we have short ways to our developers and to our product management, and we can directly integrate feedback coming from the market, coming from the customer. So this is definitely a big advantage we have. And then I think our tech stack, as I mentioned at the beginning, so we started with a local positioning system.
Mm-hmm.
After a few years, we learned that having a fixed infrastructure is not enough for all the teams. Because if we talk about American football or football guys, they're playing outdoors. They're traveling a lot. They're going to training camps. They're playing away matches. So we understood that apart from the local positioning system, you need to have a mobile version. That
Mm-hmm.
was then the initial start point to add GPS also to our tech stack. But we also added, based on the LPS tech we have, a pure IMU system, which is focusing on the IMU metrics. And in combination with AI and machine-based learning algorithms, we can also detect specific metrics for indoor sports like basketball, handball, or volleyball to give the coaches comparable data for LPS and IMU when they're also on the road. And this is like also a standalone solution, which is for sure a bit cheaper than the LPS, and it's a good entry point solution as well for a lot of teams. And after that, we were adding then in combination with different ball providers the connected ball to the tech stack. And I think we are very proud of having the connected ball, as the Handball Bundesliga, for instance, is working with us since now I think almost 6 years. And on every match day, every player is wearing a Kinexon tag and every ball is equipped with a chip. So that gives the league super good insights, and it helps the coaching staff to also understand what's going on the field. And I think all the initiatives we are building up are always referring to where we're coming from. And another innovation is the connected ball integration into the football to support officiating decisions, to really give touch signals and to support the speed up process on really identifying when exactly did a player pass the ball and what's happening then with all the other players during that second. So that's a combination of integrating different technologies. And this is also another initiative we are focusing on. And I think one of the latest babies, so to say, in the house we are currently pushing a lot in terms of basketball, is this is core strength, and it's the market where we are the strongest, globally speaking, is our Compete Vision product, which is coming without any variables at the first place, and where coaches get shot information. And the cool thing about that is it's the first time you get those information from a practice perspective, and it comes with one video camera which we can ship out, or we can also connect to existing camera feeds and have an integration to some of the providers so that it's super easy for the coaches to get access to the data. And then you get information not only on where the shot was taken and whether it was a missed or a successful shot, you get also information about the performance related to the shot. So we built out a new metric called shot load, which gives context to each shot and which should support bridging the gap between game-related shots and what's happening in practice sessions.
Yeah, this is interesting, way a new baby, like you said. So why shots? Why shots exactly?
Yeah, because I think from a performance perspective, we already are covering the whole ecosystem and the tech stack. And we saw that a lot of our clients working with us are here and there taking shots manually during a practice or missing those insights. So it's really about focusing on the practice. I think there are already good insights if you talk about games, but there's currently not really any insight in terms of practice solution. And then I think we try to combine the knowledge we have coming from a performance perspective with adding the context of shots to really support a new perspective on how to work with the data by really combining those two worlds.
Okay, so you mentioned that there is not a lot of data around practices, right?
About what?
Around practices.
Yeah, practice. So I would say practice is something, especially if we talk about shots, for sure there are also companies giving insights into detailed analysis on shots and the accuracy of a shot and everything like that. But we are the first ones combining performance with shots to a shot load metric. So this is something very unique. And we also try to combine bridging the gap by syncing the player information with the practice information to really add a new layer for coaches.
Yeah, this is really interesting, right? How the player performs in, let's say, the shots in the practice and then what happens in the game.
Yeah, because you have different levels of shots. We call it like, I think from a practice perspective, sometimes you just have like a shoot around where you say, okay, it's more going in a direction of form shots. Then you have real practice shots, and then you have like high loaded game related shots. Coaches can really use those informations to understand what's happening within the practice. Do I need to bring my player more into those high loaded shots towards the end of a practice to simulate better game like solution or scenarios? So this is something which is one of the use cases really coming from a kind of team development perspective, how to improve my play by play situations. But on the other side, you can use it for pure player development. If you think about academy players or college players, you need to see, can they improve? Where do they need to have improve, or where do they need to improve? And by having all those information for shots, you can use those data to see a long-term development, and you can fine-tune whenever you see a weakness.
Okay, yeah, really interesting. Can you please tell me a little bit more about how you break down the shots? You mentioned that you have three types of the shots, like one of them are closer to the game, so it would be really interesting to understand the deepness of this product.
Yeah, totally agree. So everything is based on the metric called shot load, and the shot
Okay.
load can be separated into three different buckets. So you have like a low loaded shot loads, then you have the medium load, and then you have the high load. And the load itself is calculated based on the movement a player is having a couple of seconds before he's taking the shot. So it's taking into account different perspectives from a player and
Mm-hmm.
different information about speed, acceleration, or whatsoever. There's like a specific metric related to it, and then you add this combination with the information on where the shot was taken. Was it
Mm-hmm.
successful? Was it unsuccessful? You can think about information coming in a context-based situation, like is it maybe a contested versus uncontested shot? So,
Mm-hmm.
so you always can add new layers to it, and it helps the coaches to easier understand and to separate also the overall volume of shots
Mm-hmm.
within a practice, because you can just exclude and filter out the low loaded shots so that you just focus on what's really relevant, maybe from a practice and game perspective.
So low load shots. Could we say that's it's like a easy shots when no one pressuring you and you're in easy position and you're doing the shot, or and then the high load is
Yeah,
basically more game scenario.
yeah. So it's at least, it's tough to say whether it's easy or not, but it's something like, for instance, a free throw where you don't have any movement, or if you're in a position where you're already waiting at the spot, you get the ball, and then you're taking the shots, and you're not moving around intensively, in pretty intense. So it's really a shot where you stand at one position more or less, and you take one shot after another. So it doesn't have an impact from a biomechanical perspective, from a performance perspective. It's really something where you more or less stand, you get the ball, and you're taking your shot.
Okay, I got you. And let's say you said to understand what type of the shot is it? Is it low, medium, or high? You're accessing, you're getting all of this data like movement, where the place. So is it done by computer vision, or how do you get all of the data around?
Yes, everything is based on computer vision, so there doesn't need to be any manual interaction. So the second a coach is uploading a video or we grab a video from one of the providers where we have an API, everything is then calculated and the player assignment is done in the back end, and the coaches can then access their data in the software, and they don't need to manually intervene with anything.
Okay, yeah, this is really interesting initiative. And let's say you as a person who, working in the front lines of sport technology right now, how do you see the market and innovation market and what's going to be happening in sport analytics, sport data in the next 5 years?
Yeah, that's a big one, and I can say for sure that's also a discussion we always have internally. So
Okay.
speaking personally, I don't believe that variables will go away. I think you still need to have variables somehow. I mean, for instance, if you want to collect heart rate, you still need to wear something to get access to it. I think if you want to have really detailed information also about jump load or jump height, I think it's easier currently still with a wearable to really get those detailed information. So I don't think that wearables will go away, but I think computer vision and video will play a more and more important role, as it always have been the case, right? Being used since forever. I think
Hmm.
before wearables just started, everyone was already working with video analytics and cutting video, tagging video, and everything. I think the combination of video, computer vision, wearables will be more and more important to get a holistic view, not only from a performance perspective, but also from a technical, tactical perspective.
So you see the future in basically AI and computer vision. That's going to be a big thing, next big. It's already big thing, but you see the market moving over there.
Yeah, I think AI is already a big thing, and I think we are also relying on AI for computer vision models, for our machine learning models we have for our IMU mobile system as well. So I think AI also already plays a crucial role. I think it's really going very fast, and the speed is insane from AI perspective. Let's see where this will go, or if there's any dead end more or less coming down the road. But I think AI can also support the day-to-day action of coaches by maybe giving predictions on where to go next, how to define goals, support reporting. So I think AI plays a crucial role. And other than that, I think the combination of having really important data, the right data, is important. And I believe context is king, because just knowing how much a player is running is not enough. It's already not enough, and it will not be enough in the future, because you really understand the context on
Hmm.
in which situation am I sprinting the most? What's my maximum speed in a transition play versus maybe in a build-up play, if you talk about football? In terms of shots, we are already going in a direction, adding the shot load component so that you
Hmm.
really understand what's happening in terms of movement. And I think this is also something where we already are in a strong
Okay.
position by having a connected ball, by having computer vision, by having variables. And this is also something where you need to identify how to combine it the best way in the future.
Yeah, to give a valuable insight to the coaches, right, like you said. But having this much data, I think, puts you in a really, really great perspective and great place, and you could create a lot of products out of this.
Yeah, we have a lot of products. It's also not so easy always to service all of them, but I think we can break it down, because we know we are in the indoor area, as I mentioned, where we are focusing on specific sports, and then you're talking about LPS IMU. In basketball, you're also talking about the computer vision integration. Outdoors, you're talking about GPS or LPS. So I think there is a huge overlap within our tech stack, but for sure we always need to make sure that we are working sport specific, because the way you are calculating an acceleration for ice hockey is totally different than for football. The way you are setting up speed zones is different in ice hockey versus volleyball. So you always need to acknowledge that every sport is individual and has his own specifics. And that's also something we need to replicate, and we always need to keep in mind by being close to the customers, being close to the market, and see where we can go next.
And when you're saying IMU, so I'm not aware what IMU is. Could you please, explain us?
Yeah, so IMU is our mobile version. It's based on so IMU stands for inertial measurement unit. So
Okay.
it's then the combination of having an accelerometer attached to
Okay.
the sensor in combination with a gyroscope. And this gives another layer of information which you can use to calculate different metrics. So you can use it for calculating an acceleration load. You can use it for calculating jumps, including a jump load or jump height. So those data is coming from the IMU, and the IMU is always integrated into our sensors we have. But thanks to the LPS system we have, we were able to put the IMU data coming from the LPS in close relationship to the calculated metrics, and we can run some different algorithms over it to find overlaps within the data. And now we are capable for a mobile system to calculate distance covered, for instance, just coming from the accelerometer data.
Okay, Rene, I got you. I have a small blitz, at the end. So first question I would like to ask you, out of these 10 years in sport tech, what was the most exciting moment for you?
That's a tough one, but honestly, I would say the most exciting part being at Kinexon was really going out for our first demonstration we had. I can remember the first demo we had was with a Bundesliga team here in Germany, going there, setting up the system, seeing the data live, seeing in the faces of the coaches how impressed they are that it's possible to see 2D data coming from players in real time with such a low latency. That was definitely one of the most exciting moments. But to be honest, there are a lot of more, because seeing and celebrating the success stories we had over the past years, finding our sweet spot in the NBA, we're collaborating with so many colleges, being part of a handball Bundesliga, being part of such huge tournaments we have seen in the last 2 years. I think those are definitely moments which no one from us at Kinexon Sports will ever forget. And I think it's definitely worth to put in such effort and to put in such a hard work to really see what's possible, and that there are a lot of people out there who acknowledge what you're doing and what we are doing. And I think it's a super cool story.
I can see him in tears of joy coming of your eyes right now.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's really cool, and I think that's also something now. Yeah, speaking internally about Kinexon Sports, which is great that we see everyone is into sports, and we have a great culture, great mindset across the company, and I think it's something where we can be proud of, and it's definitely also something which I am proud of talking about, because it's been a cool journey, and I can say one thing for sure: we are not at the end of the journey.
Okay, René, what is your favorite sport?
It's football, so like soccer. That's my favorite one, where I have also personally the most experience in, because I was playing football by myself. I have a coaching license. I was working for the German Football Association and the Bavarian Football Association, also educating coaches, working in a youth development program. But other than that, I think, as maybe always, if you study sports and if you work in sports tech, I really need to admit that I love all the sports. So I'm a big US sport fan. So it's great to see that the NFL kicked off again. So that's definitely super cool. NBA season is about to start. And I think hockey is also something which is a really, really cool sport. So yeah, football is my number one, but followed by a lot of other sports. And I would say I'm into watching them and following them on a daily basis.
Who is your favorite player then? Athlete.
That's my favorite team to say, but we are Munich based, so it's okay. Bayern Munich is my favorite team. Um,
Okay.
I'm not having this 100% most favorite player. I think there are a lot of players in a bucket if you talk about the different sports, but I would say it's unfair to say or to name now one favorite player.
Okay. One favorite athlete over all time. If someone comes to your mind, who would that
Yeah, I
be?
think in general, it's maybe also someone like Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant if you think about more the athletes from the past, because I really love the mindset they had and that they were fighting for everything and they were never giving up, and they were also not satisfied in moments when they won titles or championships, and they were already directly focusing on the next step. And I think this is a great attitude which I really love and which I also try to have in mind all the time, that you need to be humble somehow and you need to celebrate wins, but you need to stay focused and you need to again prioritize for the next topics which lie ahead.
And what is the favorite part of your job, Rene?
Currently, because my role has changed a bit, so now I'm focusing more on the product marketing, product strategy, or also our general marketing part. I think personally speaking, currently it's really the case that I am also responsible for a team, so I can really support my team on a day-to-day basis. I can act as a coach to really provide them the insights they need, the guidance they need to let them shine and to make sure that they can do their job properly and they can also be successful. And I think it's still a mixture of having a job where you are in front of the PC and you need to work with numbers, you need to work on concepts, you need to try things out. But on the other side, also still that the case that I can talk to customers. I'm visiting conferences, for instance, I'm traveling around. So really it's the mixture of
Mm-hmm.
still seeing the practical side and how people are using our technology and what they need maybe in the future. And on the other side, really the internal topic on supporting a great team and ensuring that we as Kinexon Sports stay on track and we lay the foundation for a successful future.
What one advice would you give to someone who would like to enter sport age? Maybe young founder, or
Yeah,
maybe someone wants to get a job and wants to work in sport age.
yeah, that's a great one, and to be honest, a lot of people are reaching out to me asking for insights. I would always say one important topic is you really need to start early, also with setting up a network and reach out to people, talk to them, understand the advantages and disadvantages of working in sports. Because to be honest, it's not everything is positive. I mean, the downside of working in sports in general is you also need to work on weekends, you need to work in the evenings, you need to work on bank holidays. So that's maybe also a disadvantage, and it's not always easy to follow a strict 8 to 5 rule or 40 hour week or something like that. So you really need to understand that there are some disadvantages, but if you love sports, if you love tech, I'm always giving the advice you need to start early, reaching out to people, trying to get interns, trying to get a job as a working student, really understand where do you want to go and what's needed to be successful on this journey, because it's very limited. It's a very limited market, not only from a sports tech perspective, but also by finding a job within a club. And you really need to try to stand out. And therefore, I think network is super important, but also to follow a clear path, to really have a goal where you want to go. And yeah, there will also be some roadblocks as always, but I think it's really important to never give up. And as always, I'm also happy to talk to someone if someone wants to follow up by seeing this podcast and reach out. I'm happy to connect on LinkedIn and to talk through some options. We maybe at Kinexon can also offer, or if there's any contact we can open up. So I think it's really important to not give up and to follow his dream and to really understand the advantages and disadvantages. But it's a very limited market. It's not so easy to find the perfect job.
Yeah, all right, Rene, it was really great to have you. We had a really insightful conversation with a lot of insight. I really love it. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you also, and I think it's great to be part in such a format, and I also love the direction this conversation went, because I think it's great not to only talk about sports tech and where the future is, but also talking about some great moments and maybe also giving young people advice. So thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Right.
Bye
Bye.
bye.